Welcome to another episode of the untold story of the Protestant Reformation. This is episode 14. We only have a couple more episodes left. We're going to do the early events of 1522, then we'll do the Knights' Revolt, then the Peasants' Revolt, then the property seizure. After the property seizure, I may do some sporadic side stories of things that happened during the 1520s and 1530s, but it certainly won't be a chronological year by year like what I've been doing since 1516. In the last episode, we ended with a controversial Christmas Mass led by Andreas Karlstadt. Shortly after that Mass, Andreas Karlstadt married. He is one of the first reformers to marry as a priest. In January of 1522, tensions in Wittenberg and across Germany are escalating. Andreas Karlstadt has published some sermons accusing religious images found in churches as unbiblical and against the second commandment, thou shalt not worship graven images. The students at Wittenberg ransack St. Mary's and burn all the images inside. Destroying religious images is a term called iconoclasm. Iconoclasm is a trend throughout Germany at this time. In the areas where the princes and dukes allowed the propaganda campaign to run wild. Harassing monks and priests is also a trend. In Wittenberg, the students of Wittenberg threw rocks at the Franciscan friars during their Mass. They also destroyed their altar. Interrupting masses across Germany with various forms of protest and violence is not uncommon. Despite the pushback from residents in Wittenberg, Andreas Karlstadt got the local magistrates to approve his reforms in the church on January 22nd. This shows you that the secular authorities are already starting to take over the church. These reforms lead to more unrest. In early March of 1522, Martin Luther returns to Wittenberg in order to try and restore order. He's going to do this in a series of sermons, 8 days of sermons at the beginning of Lent, condemning the changes instituted by Andreas Karlstadt and company. This series of sermons is famously called the Invocavit sermons. They are provided in Latin, which is a further rebuke of Andreas Karlstadt and his crew, who wanted the church services in German. Luther emphasizes the freedom of a Christian. They should be able to have a choice whether they want the wine or not, whether they want the host or not, or whether they want images in their churches or not. Unfortunately, these sermons turn out to be extremely hypocritical of Martin Luther, because in the future, when the dukes, princes, and magistrates steal all the Catholic property and force the commoners to be Lutheran, Martin Luther stays silent. In the sermons, Luther never calls Andreas Karlstadt or his cohorts by name, but everyone knows who he is ridiculing and lambasting. After the services are over, Frederick the Wise receives fan mail and praise for bringing Martin Luther back and restoring order away from those, quote, interloping violent priests, end quote. Frederick the Wise kicks Andreas Karlstadt out of Wittenberg University. He is no longer allowed to teach, nor is he allowed to publish anything. Karlstadt and Luther become bitter rivals. Karlstadt wants a public debate, which Frederick the Wise denies. But what a strange irony that is. The debate would put Karlstadt on the side of the reformers and Martin Luther on the side of the Catholic Church. Eventually, Andreas Karlstadt leaves Wittenberg as the village idiot. He will move 100 miles away from Wittenberg and start his own version of Protestantism with a guy by the name of Thomas Munzer. In the next lecture, I will go over the Knights' Revolt, and if I have time, the Peasants' Revolt. Thank you for watching.